Eurogenç TV interaktif içerikleriyle her an elinizin altında. Akıllı telefonunuzdan veya tabletinizden Eurogenç TV aplikasyonunu indirin, izlemeye başlayın.
Welcome to the latest printed press. I'm really happy to be your host, Aysen Djemal. And it's been a long time that we haven't been doing our programs, so I'm really, really pleased to be back. And tonight we've got a very informative program. We'll be discussing the latest breakthrough scientific research on cancer treatments and the evolution of cancer care. Our specialist will be giving you the latest information and answering your questions. And tonight we have Dr. Mekella Mehmet Yesil, public health researcher. Welcome, Mekella, to my program once again. How are we?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's brilliant to have you on the show. And Dr. Sibel Ihsan, who is lead Directorate Pharmacist in Waltham Forest in North East London. Welcome, Sibel, to the program.
Hi, Aysen. Lovely to see you again. Thank you for having me on the program.
Yes, it's lovely to see you both. Thank you very much for agreeing to come on this program. I thought it was a very befitting first program to open our season, because obviously this scientific research is quite revolutionary, and it's been like the natural evolution of cancer care. So I thought that it would be very, very good for us to start off with something like that. First of all, my first question is going to be actually to Mekella. And I'm going to ask, a new drug that's been found has a 100% success rate in treating cancer. Scientists believe they may have made a major breakthrough in the fight against cancer treatment. Can you tell us a little bit more about this groundbreaking research and how it was discovered?
Yeah, of course I can. Well, firstly, let's just say that so people don't get their hopes up. The drug that's been invented is actually been around since 2014. It's only been approved by the FDA in the last year or so to be used in the UK. It's actually called dostlarlimab. It's quite a mouthful to try and explain, but it's been trialed on 18 people in the USA, in New York, in the Kettering Cancer Center. And out of 18 of those patients who had stage 2 and 3 non-metastatic cancers, which means it had got to the lymph nodes, they were able to cure them. So basically within 6 months of putting them on the therapy, the immunotherapy drug, which is monoclonal, it cleared the cancer. Just to sort of like explain in layman's terms, there's 7 degrees of cancer, so stages, shall we say, but there's 4 that are quite serious. So you've got stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and then we have a picture just here. So stage 4 is obviously more serious, but with 1, 2, and 3 just indicates that it's not so, the severity is that they haven't actually got into the other organs or other blood vesicles. So up to stage 2 and 3, we can treat it with this dostlarlimab, and that's basically where the research has evolved. So worldwide, we know there's 120 people that have undergone the study. We don't have the figures for worldwide yet, but we know that 18 of them in America have all come back and cured of cancer completely and utterly, which is really good.
Which is amazing, actually. Sibel, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so I was just going to say, so just on the back of what Mekella just explained, so obviously, it's shown a huge success, but there are, as with any studies, there are sort of limitations for any sort of study that takes place. So whilst it offers some good news, the study was very it included only a small number of patients, and there was sort of limited follow-up time with those patients that were included on the trial. And actually not all the participants had a 12-month follow-up. So ideally, the positive findings of the study that Mekella alluded to earlier should be looked at in a larger cohort to ensure that patients from a diverse set of racial and ethnic backgrounds are included to reduce that bias. So, it is definitely groundbreaking, and it looks as though we may have identified a cure, but it is really too early to declare it as sort of a miracle drug that a lot of sort of, articles out there are saying. The drug will obviously need to be used and repeated in a lot of larger studies, and also keeping in mind that, the earliest patients in the trial, they still have several more years of observation to ensure that those tumours don't re-emerge and metastasize, so i.e. sort of spread to other parts of the body.
Okay, I understand. Right, our second question is to you, Sibel. Could you tell us a little bit more about this drug, which you've sort of already done, and how it works with our body, but also why is it different to existing treatments like chemotherapy and radiotherapy?
Yeah, so the drug, so usually in cases of sort of advanced cancer, people usually have to have chemotherapy, as you know, which uses cytotoxic drugs to kill the cancer. And it's either given orally in tablet form, or it can be given intravenously through the vein into the bloodstream directly. However, in this trial, the drug that was used is called dostarlimab, as Mekella mentioned, and it's categorized as another type of cancer treatment called immunotherapy, which essentially means that the immune system is stimulated to fight the cancer itself. So all sort of immunotherapy drugs, their names all end in mab, so referred to as monoclonal antibody. So in a way in which sort of the drug, it sort of works by attaching to a protein called PD-1, which is abbreviated as programmed death receptor 1. And basically what that does is it attaches to the protein on the surface of the cancer cell, and then this helps the immune system recognize it and attack the cancer. So essentially it sort of labels it as needing to be attacked. And we know that sort of with traditional sort of invasive therapies like chemotherapy, radiotherapy, patients experience a lot more side effects and other symptoms, but this drug is not as invasive as those. It's a 500 milligram sort of dose, and it was administered into the bloodstream through like a drip into the vein over a 30-minute period, and it only sort of triggers mild side effects like rash, dry skin, itchy skin, fatigue, nausea, constipation. So all your sort of, your usual side effects that you experience with any sort of other drug. And as Mekella mentioned, the trial involved 18 colorectal cancer patients in the US, and they were administered this drug every 3 weeks for 6 months. That's essentially how the drug works.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, that's really informative because, like you said, if you rely on the articles, it's not accurate. But obviously, having your specialism on the program is very informative for our audiences. Mekella, what types of cancers does it cure? Does it have the capability of curing all types or only certain types?
I'll go into a little bit of like pathology or physiology and anatomy. Out of 200 cancers, it can cure 5 of them at the moment. And when we say 5 of them or cure them, it treats them. So as again, like Sibel said, she mentioned, it's not like the immediate cure for every single cancer, but it's still being trialed. What we know is anything to do with the colon is below the abdomen. So basically your colon, the rectum, the endometrium, the ovaries, the prostate, the pancreas. So if you look at this part of the body here on the diagram, it explains where all the lymph nodes are and where all the internal organs are. So basically, we know out of 200 cancers, 5 of them can be treated using this drug.
Right. Okay. Anything you'd like to add, Sibel, to that? Oh, I think she's frozen. Okay, we're going to go on to the next question then. Will this be available to the UK on the NHS? I think a lot of people are probably thinking that. Will it be given to everybody?
Right, anybody with stage 2 and stage 3 cancers will qualify to get the treatment on the NHS. Of course it has. And obviously, Rishi Sunak has made a promise to say to people, anyone who has stage 2 or stage 3 cancer can have the treatment free on the NHS. This drug actually costs between £5,000 and £6,000 per vial for 500 ml. So it's quite expensive, but anyone wanting to have the treatment or needing the treatment without having obviously drastic surgery or radiotherapy or chemotherapy it will work without having those surgeries. And obviously there is an alternative for women with endometrial cancers who can qualify to have another new drug which has been at launch. It's called naraparib. So you can look that up, or I can attach it to the end of the show later on. It's been given to women with stage 4 endometrial and ovarian cancer as part of selective surgery after having the ovaries or the womb removed.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, please, if we can attach that to the at the end of the program, that'd be really, really useful. Sibel, I thought we lost you there for a few minutes,
Yeah,
but anything that you'd like to add about what types of cancer it cures? We were discussing that, and also the fact that this will be available to the NHS. Mekella sort of elaborated on that. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, so I mean, dostarlimab is only FDA approved at the moment to treat recurrent or advanced endometrial cancer, and FDA basically meaning that it's approved based on the benefits of the drug, and it's sort of, the benefits of the drug outweigh the sort of the known risks for its intended use. But I guess it's important to note that the drug is part of 20 other clinical trials, including lots of other various cancers, for example, breast cancer. And because it's an immunotherapy drug, it's not specific for tumor types. So that means sort of the drug technically can be used to treat a range of cancers. However, the manufacturer, so GlaxoSmithKline, GSK, has only completed clinical trials on patients with endometrial cancer. So the FDA approval is just based on that specific indication itself.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Right. We're going to be specifically talking about our community, the Turkish-speaking community. But before that, we've got quite a few comments coming in. Ismet Mehdi, hello Ismet, all the way from Cyprus, has said, welcome back and good to see you all back. Abi Hussein has complimented me and said that I never age. Of course, never.
She's right. You just don't, Aysen. I don't know what
I
it
shall
is.
always say the same. I shall never change, she says. Wishful thinking. Thank you very much, though, for the compliment. Big Cash has said, welcome back. And Erin Meto, the CEO of the TCCA, has said, amazing. Welcome back to these amazing health programs. Big love to you all. Thank you very much, Erin. Erin obviously was very much part of all our programs during COVID-19, and we did many all together. So it's lovely to have his support tonight. And Abi Hussein has asked a question. Bowel cancer, is it effective against bowel cancer? I'll let Mek answer first.
This is exactly what we was talking about with Sibel, because people seem to think, again, we were talking about the physiology and anatomy of the body. Your colon and your bowel are attached. So basically anything you eat has to come out somewhere, and that is your rectum, regardless. So your colon makes up part of your stomach for your liver and everything else. So bowel cancer is one of the things it's been trialed for, and that is exactly what colorectal cancer is, bowel cancer.
Right, okay.
So yes, it does treat it.
So that's good news, isn't it? Sibel, anything else you'd like to say about this subject?
Yeah, I mean, Mekella sort of, said what I wanted to say, but I guess it's very early days, and the trial it was looking at sort of rectal cancers. So I mean, it would need to be trialed, like a bit more in future studies to be able to determine whether it's going to be effective, across different various cancers.
I see. Is there any other drugs that you know of? Obviously, being a pharmacist, is there anything else that's out there at the moment being trialed that you know, or any research that you think might be emerging through?
We were looking at that earlier, weren't we?
We were, Mick. Yeah, we were. I mean, not at the moment, Aysen. But I mean, watch this space. I'm sure, with the funding that's going into, a lot of the cancer treatments, I'm sure, hopefully there will be something that will emerge through the doors. And, depending on the success of this trial, and, when it does go through more sort of vigorous trials, there might be something that will come out of it.
Yes. And what I seem to have gauged, being a layperson here, when it comes to these drugs, is that it seems to be less intrusive. Is that correct? Is that what's revolutionary about this? Not so much that it's a miracle cure, because whatever is a miracle cure, obviously, I think we've advanced in medication and we're getting much more success rates. But is this something that is part of this drug, that it is a little bit less invasive than the other types of treatments for cancer?
Yes, I mean, Yeah, so I would definitely say it is, because obviously our other forms of treatment involve chemotherapy, radiotherapy, which I mentioned earlier, and they are very sort of invasive forms. So they don't just kill the sort of the the cancerous cells; they kill your healthy cells as well. Whereas treatments like these are more targeted, so you actually target the receptors that you need to sort of target in order for the treatment to work and to actually kill specifically those cancer cells.
Yes, definitely, which is really good news because this is the thing that we all talk about. It's not just the fact that people actually get cancer, but it's actually the treatment that is quite traumatic as well. And if we can find other ways of making it less intrusive, then that I think that's a really big breakthrough. Mekella, anything else that you'd like to add to that point?
I was just going to say, because again, we have these discussions on a daily basis about certain treatments. Like we talk about things like chemotherapy and immunotherapy and radiotherapy. And obviously, we know that chemotherapy can be quite devastating because people lose their hair and stuff like that. They lose weight, they can lose their teeth, their skin sort of like has bruising or soreness. So we know things like paclitaxel and carboplatin are quite invasive, but we also know that extreme radiotherapy can cause damage to tissue and obviously have bed sores and stuff like that. But with immunotherapy drugs, they're less invasive, so they're going to be less detrimental to the human body and they won't destroy healthy cells. Like, for example, within the human body, we know we have so many hundreds of millions of cells. We won't go into sort of like graphic detail, but we know that P53 and TP53 are the ones that make up cancer cells in the body. And what these drugs do is they particularly target P53 inhibitors. So the dostlimumab is going to be targeting that particular gene and not none of the healthy genes in the body. So that's one of the benefits, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly, Meg. You've explained that really well. As opposed to sort of radiotherapy, which obviously we know is sort of like a high beam, sort of it's very sort of it's very
it can burn the skin almost, like, can't it? The tissue, the damages us to skin and tissue.
Exactly. I mean, essentially, it's trying to. You give radiotherapy to sort of shrink the tumor, and it's not the cure for cancer, and it's very targeted, and chemotherapy. Again, it's very it's very invasive, and you get a lot of side effects, and lots of different cycles, etc.
Edim's asked something now, which is quite interesting. What about alternative therapies? What do you think about that? And alternatives to drugs.
Stem cell therapy, but it costs a lot of money. You're talking about £30,000. And again, only certain countries will do stem cell transfer or bone marrow transplant, things like that. So again, we're talking about cost, and everything comes down to money. Unfortunately, with cancer, it's one of the big sad realities.
So actually, there would be more available, but it's more to do with budgets of countries and what's funding, and what's available on the NHS and what you can get privately, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the Cancer Drug Fund has actually funded this drug, so it's going to be freely available to most patients anyway, which is a good thing. It's positive. So that's one thing to look forward to.
Yeah, Big Hash has actually said, has this drug been trialled in the UK? And if so, what are the findings?
It hasn't been trialled in the UK yet, but naraparib has, and that's currently with 200 patients here in the UK. I'm part of that study at the moment.
Okay. So dostlimumab, is that what it's called? That's not been trialled. Yeah, that's not been trialled in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that it's been made. I mean, its only license is at the moment for patients with advanced or recurrent endometrial cancer, and it has sort of given hope to around 100 patients a year. So it has shown a lot of success in that. But it's been made possible because of the Cancer Drug Fund, which allows the NHS to get sort of early access to the latest treatments, and to provide patients with that sort of that latest cutting edge treatments for cancer. But obviously there are still sort of ongoing data that's being collected, mainly looking at the sort of the clinical effectiveness and the cost effectiveness of the drug in order to support NICE, so the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, in making a final recommendation around its sort of its routine use in NHS. So, and that's a big thank you to the NHS England, to NICE, to pharmaceutical companies like GlaxoSmithKline, GSK, who have actually made this treatment a reality.
Yes. For sure. Meg, messages to the Turkish-speaking community about this treatment and what they should look out for.
Right, we're talking about the signs of cancer in the community. Obviously,
Yes.
this is one: drinking, smoking, diet, lifestyle, all these sort of things. Genetics obviously play a big part. The things to look out for when we're talking about colorectal cancers are things like bowel movements is the first one. If you're going to the toilet too frequently, if your motions, your stools are very loose, if you have blood in your stools, if you're not emptying your bowels properly, that's one of the big signs. Losing weight. As well, and also feeling that you're not emptied your bowels properly, so like you keep going to the toilet repeatedly, bloatingness, pelvic pain, abdominal pain, things like that.
Yes, I'll be here saying this, but our community, what's the primary cancer that affects Turkish communities in the UK? I mean, obviously you've talked about the lifestyle and what needs to be changed. That's rife in our community, like the smoking and the drinking, but any particular cancers that you feel is common?
I think lung cancer is quite common.
Sibel?
Smoking.
Yeah, I think it varies, doesn't it? I mean, I don't think because of our sort of our community, I don't think we're prone to having any more sort of, you know, different types of cancer specifically. But I guess a lot of it, like Mekella's sort of alluded to, it sort of depends on sort of, you know, your lifestyle, the, you know, the environment, the things that you do, like smoking, alcohol, your diet plays a huge part in it as well. And I guess, you know, that's the reason why we say, you know, if you do, it's really important to recognize the signs and the symptoms, and to be able to, you know, go and sort of see your GP and get referred to sort of have an earliest sort of intervention as possible, and to allow, you know, an early detection.
Yes, because I mean, in our community, even as a child, it was like cancer was a taboo to even say the word. Like you'd say, "Oh, the big C," you wouldn't even actually say the word. It was such a taboo. And I think now we're having much more open dialogue about it. And like you said, knowing not just the lifestyle that you should be leading to try and prevent it, but in the worst case, actually recognizing the signs and you know, going to your GP as soon as possible. I think that's the message, isn't it? That's the main
Yeah,
message. Is if
I
you
think that's, yeah. Sorry, Aysen.
no, it's fine. It's just, you know, when you see the signs, not to ignore them. I do feel like in our community, a lot of the times, you know, it's like, you know, stiff upper lip, you know, just carry on. It doesn't matter if I'm not feeling quite all right. I'll just carry on and ignore it. What do we think about that, Sibel, first of all?
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. I think we put off actually getting seen. And I think that is, you know, the worst thing that you can do. There are lots of different tests that are used to diagnose and determine what stage, you know, of any type of cancer that you have. And to be honest, like, I know that a lot of, you know, specifically for rectal cancer, it is, you know, an invasive procedure. So, for example, we use screening methods like colonoscopy, which basically uses like a long sort of flexible tube that's attached to like a video camera, and it sort of monitors your colon and your rectum, so your back passage. But the thing is, it's worth, especially if you have a family history, it is worth actually having those tests done, you know, as regular as possible, because, you know, those type of things are only detected through those sort of methods. And, you know, there's a lot of things that they can do, like biopsies, where they sort of take a biopsy of like polyps, which are like small growths in the lining of the rectum. You know, they're able to use lots of different sort of imaging tests as well, like MRI, CT scans, ultrasounds, blood tests as well. But it's really important to be able to detect the early sort of signs and actually get seen, and not put it off.
Yes, I think that's a very big message, not to put it off. Thank you very
In the
much.
family,
Meg.
especially if it runs in the family, because we know with males as well, if the father has had cancer previously, like bowel cancer, then the sons and the daughters need to be checked for it as well, because more than likely that predisposed gene will come down the line in the genetic mutation. So we have to make sure that those people are sort of like, you know, anyone who's lost their family or a family member previously, they have to make sure they're screened every 3 years at least.
Every 3 years, wow.
Every 3 years, yeah. And again, with breast cancer, it's a CA125, isn't it, Sibel? Is that right?
Yeah.
CA125 for breast cancer. And again, there's no harm in sort of like checking your breast regularly after a period or before a period, just to make out, looking out for like lumps or bumps or things that don't look right or don't feel right. So yeah, there's no shame in it. We have to remove the stigma. We really, really do, because I feel that there is so much stigma attached to it. Like we had a situation not long ago, and I had to sort of say something to somebody, but because I knew that person, I didn't want him to know that I knew. So I asked Sibel to do it. And then because Sibel got involved, that person didn't want to speak to Sibel. Remember the situation? I won't go into too much detail.
Yeah.
But again, it's because, oh no, I'm fine now. There's nothing wrong with me. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. So we have to remove that stigma completely. We're there to help
Definitely.
people. We're there to help people.
100%. Could you just, I mean, because we're in the last 5 minutes now of our program, time flies so quickly. We could probably have another 2 hours of this, and we definitely will repeat things and we'll attach things to the end of this program, links and information for our viewers out there. But Mekella, could you tell us, I mean, we've talked about the fact that we definitely, if we see signs, and we've talked about the signs, we need to go and see our local GP. But how about healthy lifestyles? Just a little sort of summary of the things that we need to be careful of to hopefully then prevent ever getting cancer.
There's no such thing as ever preventing it, because obviously if it's genetic, it's going to be there regardless, whatever we try and do. To eliminate it and reduce the risk of getting cancer, because you don't catch it, you get it. So basically, free radicals, they're things that are in our body, and having a good pH in our body, that should range between 7.4 and 6.5 and 7.4 normally. So basically it means that if your body's too alkaline, it's no good. So eliminating red meats, alcohol, cigarette smoking, sugar is another one. Obviously, processed fats, sugars. Obviously, some medication that we take can increase our chances, but obviously we have to work at that. Exercise is good, and obviously stress is another one. So little small things like that, just daily habits, like having a plate full of food isn't going to for example, let's talk about the rainbow diet, for example. Having more greens on your plate, more colours, is better than having a potato, a piece of chicken, and some peas, for example. So eating the greens and the vegetables or the salad first is going to have a detrimental effect on your health for the better, rather than eating the meat first.
I see. Yeah, definitely.
Small lifestyle changes. The diet is imperative, definitely.
Yes. Sibel, anything from
Yeah,
you?
I mean, yeah, I think Mekella said it all. I'd say also avoid sugary drinks, sort of limit your consumption of sort of high calorie foods, especially those that are low in fiber and rich in sort of fat or like added sugar. As Mekella said, eat more of a variety of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes and things like that, and limit sort of your consumption of red meats as well, and processed meats.
We've had a few more comments. Abi Hussein has said that he's had 2 checkups in the last 5 years, which is really, really good. So well done to him. And we need more people to do things like that, especially if it runs in your family, like Mek said. Aysen Djemal has said, inspiring to see 3 amazing Turkish women covering such an important subject. Great to see you all back. And it's great to have you viewing our show, Aysen, and hopefully I'll have you on my program at some point. But it really has been truly inspiring. And obviously, as always, Mek, thank you very much for coming on my program and being so informative. The same with you, Sibel, as well. You've been regularly coming on now recently to my programs, and it's very, very useful for our community to get this hands-on information from the experts. So I'm very grateful to you. Last messages, Mek, anything you'd like to say to our audiences before we go?
Yeah, just basically limit the amount of stress you have in your life. Go out walking more, eat healthy, drink healthy, sleep healthy. Get your 7 hours of sleep a night if you can, and obviously stay positive. Mindset is everything.
Yes, Sibel.
Yeah, I'd say the same and very similar. I'd say don't sort of avoid not going to get your symptoms checked and seen to. Live a healthy lifestyle. Mental health is also really important as well in that. And yeah, just be aware of the early signs and get seen to.
Yes, thank you. We've got one last question just come in, and I'd like to do it just before we go offline. Big Hash has said, PD-1, PD-L1 blocking antibody, one of the adverse reactions of the drug. Would you elaborate, please? Mekella.
Like, this is Dr. Dash, and he's in Bangladesh, so he follows me all the time. So he's always asking me questions to do with anything to do with like research. So basically, what he's saying is, does the PD-1, does this drug block PD-1? Well, it doesn't block it; it destroys it. So that's the idea of it. So when he's saying PD-1, he's talking about pathway DEF1. But don't forget, PD53 and TP53 are the cells that make up the cancer. So yeah.
Okay, fantastic. It's amazing to hear you say all of these technical terms. I'm absolutely in awe of you, both of you. Thank you very much for coming on my program. Thank you very much to all our viewers. And hopefully we will see you soon on Eurogench TV. From Aysen Djemal and the rest of our panel for tonight, it's a good night. Hope you have a lovely evening. Goodbye.
Eurogenç TV interaktif içerikleriyle her an elinizin altında. Akıllı telefonunuzdan veya tabletinizden Eurogenç TV aplikasyonunu indirin, izlemeye başlayın.